A Sunday edition of Morning Scone, presented by Brock, the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. Restored Motions and RestoredMotions.com. Need an orthopedist, you go to Brock. Need a roof? Call Hudco. If you have pain, book a session with Crystal Poche over at Restored Motions. Okay, y'all ready to talk about it? LSU goes to College Station and gets walloped by Texas A&M, 38-23. Man, with the game itself, I guess there's stuff we can talk about. I mean, it really comes down to Devon A-Chain ran the ball 38 times for 200 and bajillion yards, and you had no interest in tackling him. And it's so disappointing, man, because it was so much on the line. Listen, I think everybody understands LSU was a long shot for the playoff. But still, you would have. It was just a lot on the line, man. You would have kept the playoff hope alive. It would have certainly elevated the stakes for this week's game against Georgia. And most importantly, I mean, you would have finished off a 10-2 season, 7-1 in the league. But you decided you didn't want to tackle Devon A-Chain. And, I mean, it's like, listen, even after the first half, I get it, what A&M did, and it was the right thing to do. They were trying to shorten the game. They were trying to run the ball, and they had success doing it. And LSU kind of made their adjustment to start the second half, forced a 3-and-out, scored a touchdown, forced another 3-and-out, and you're like, okay, well, this is what we all expected. A&M played good for a half. Now LSU starts to take command of the game, and then on 3rd and 1, you ran a zone read, and Jaden should have given it to John Emery, who had room to run, and made the wrong read, pulled it, fumbled, scoop, and score. Now you're down 7, playing behind the 8 ball again, and man, even after the scoop and score, in your next drive, you got 3 first downs on that drive, so you were moving again, and you had a 3rd and 6 at their 37. So I mean, you're moving again. 3rd and 6 at their 37. Jaden Daniels scrambles for 8 yards, but they called holding on Emory Jones, which was a very questionable call. But that's what it is. You ended up with 10 yards back, 3rd and 16, and that's when they had the complete pass to Jack Besh. If you remember, Jaden stepped up over the middle, and it almost looked like the 3rd and 17 at Texas, where Burrow kind of stepped up and jumped over the middle and found Jefferson on the crosser, but pass was just a little low for Besh. And LSU punted, and then A&M scored, and it was all on the ground until ran for 9, ran for 1, ran for 11, ran for 3, ran for 13, ran for 23, ran for 2, and then boom, first play of the 4th quarter over the top to Muhammad for 21 yards. 31-17, and that was pretty much a ball game at that point. So anyway, A-Chain carried 38 times for 215. I don't know what else to say. I mean, that's your game. A team that came in averaging 32% on 3rd down, was 7 of 8 in the first half, because their 3rd downs were 3rd and 1, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 7. They converted the 9-yard run by Wigman. That was where Harold Perkins got hurt. 3rd and 3. I mean, that was the story of the game. So, all right. Say some good mornings here. Appreciate y'all. Thanks to everybody who came out, to Don Juan who watched. We had some buffering issues on the stream, so we apologize for that. But there's always an audio version, so if you care to listen to it, you can do so there. Get its audio version. So, all right, Patrick McKenzie, good morning. Chase Pellegrin, what's going on? Kelly Gross, Kirk Taylor, Kevin Gleason, Buddy Bond, what's going on? Lawrence Corbin. Kirk Taylor last night was oof, but honestly 9 wins was more than we hoped for. Yeah, and Kirk, I think, listen, man, in time, the sort of the suddenness and the sting of this loss will wear off, and you'll be able to pull back and take the 10,000-foot view of the season that you won the West in year 1, you beat Bama, you won on the road against Auburn and Florida for the first time in the same year in program history. Like, there's a lot of those things that we'll talk about, right? And they're all really, really encouraging and things that'll help be building blocks for the future as well. And you still got an SEC championship to play for this week. And I know it's the wrong time to bring that up because a lot of people aren't going to want to think that LSU's never has a shot after last week. But you will certainly not play that badly again. And I'll remind you, the last time LSU played that poorly was when they lost to Tennessee, and a week later went to Florida and blew the doors off of Florida. So you got to hope Josh Williams gets healthy. Wonder about Jaden Daniels' ankle, obviously, which we could talk about. But I'm not sitting here telling you that I think LSU is going in there to put a hurting on Georgia. Georgia's a great team, and when they're focused and locked in, they're something to handle. But they haven't been focused and locked in much this year. So you still have a championship to play for on Saturday. So I remember in 2007 when LSU lost to Arkansas. I mean, I remember saying all week on air, the SEC championship is not a consolation prize. Like, it's incredible. It's something LSU's only done, I think at that time, maybe 9 times in their history. It won 9 SEC titles. 2007 may have been the 10th. So, I mean, it is something that is rare, and it is a prize worthy of being won. So, I hope LSU shows up ready to roll. Coach tries to win the SEC, and if you win the SEC, you go to the Sugar Bowl, and there's some prizes out there to play for, but you got to go play well this week for sure. Kevin Gleason, Colin O'Connor, Brian Kelly playing the long game, letting Jimbo earn another extension. Bravo, well done. David Tolson, is this another Brian Kelly moment in big games? No, David, because this wasn't a big game. I mean, if this is a big game, then they're all big games. That was a 4-7 football team. That wasn't a big game. I mean, that Alabama was a big game. You know what I mean? Like, this week against Georgia is a big game. I mean, that was, you were napping against an inferior team and they popped you. You showed up not ready to play. And that's bizarre because I'm going to tell you, man, this team all year, I'll give them that credit, is they have showed up ready to play week after week after week. And, one of the things that I think has been a hallmark of this team has been the fact that they've been ready to play every week. And even when they face adversity, they haven't let it bother them, even within games. I mean, think about it. We talked about it so much. When you're down to Florida State, you were down 13 to Mississippi State. You were down 17 on the road at Auburn. You were down 17-3 to Ole Miss. You rally. I mean, this team never let negative situations get down. Look, against Alabama, every single time Alabama scored and took the lead in the second half, LSU responded with points to retake the lead. They never, that's been a hallmark of this team, which is why yesterday was so perplexing. I mean, it was, you have a 12-game sample now with this team that shows that's a really weird one-off. That game in Tennessee, but the thing about Tennessee is Tennessee was just better than you, way better than you. It was a matchup problem. Texas A&M was not. You just showed up yesterday thinking you were going to roll out your helmet, and you decided you didn't want to tackle Devon Achane, and their offensive line got after LSU's defensive front. So it's that simple. Quentin Breakbill, Todd Harris, good morning. Hang on, where's my screen here? All right. Trying to get to my YouTube comments. My apologies, y'all. Here we go. All right. Barry that's not what I wanted to do. Sorry. Here we go. what's going on there. Jesse Brown, good morning from Disney World. Hope to have some positive vibes today after last night. Boy, you ain't going to find them on a football field. I don't think the Saints are going to have much luck today in Santa Clara. Ooh. Wendell Norman, what's up? Bill Baggs, Brambo, beat Georgia. Yeah, man, come on. J-Dog, good morning. Mike the Tiger, 2023 national champs. And can we still make a New Year's Six? Yeah, so the only way you're going to make a New Year's Six now is if you win the SEC championship, go to the Sugar Bowl. So as a 3-loss team, you would have an opportunity for sure. But if you lose to Georgia and you're a 4-loss team, you can scrap that. So if you lose to Georgia, you probably end up in the Citrus Bowl. It's because this is how it'll likely play out. If you lose to Georgia, Georgia's obviously in the playoff. Highest ranked SEC not in the playoff goes Sugar. That would be Bama. The next highest ranked team would go play the ACC champion in the Orange Bowl. That's probably going to be Tennessee. It'll either be Tennessee or Penn State. My guess is Tennessee stays ranked ahead of Penn State after both had blowout wins this week. So Tennessee would go to the Orange Bowl. My guess is a 4-loss LSU would drop behind Bama and Tennessee, which means then LSU would end up in the Citrus Bowl. So it's this simple. If you beat Georgia, you're the SEC champion. You go to the Sugar Bowl and play the Big 12 champion, or whoever, or the loser of the Big 12 championship game. If you lose, you're probably going to the Citrus Bowl, and you might play Notre Dame. Wouldn't that be something? Let's see. A Withers 30. Jade wouldn't throw it downfield. Seemed like all day. So that's the thing, man. Whenever A&M is rushing 3 or 4, they're dropping in coverage. So they have 7 or 8 in coverage. So you have, let's say, 8 defensive backs against your 3 receivers. You don't have windows to throw. That's why in a game like that, you want to look at the all 22 to see what was happening on the back end. And when they're dropping 8, generally what you want to do is give your quarterback easy check down throws. So did he have those available to him? I'll tell you, that's going back and watching the Arkansas, and I was able to watch the all 22 of Arkansas, or at least some of it. That was kind of the thing, is when he had check downs, he either didn't see him or didn't take them. And he tried to run, and that's why he got sacked like 6 times. So, there have been times this year where when teams have played coverage against LSU, LSU's not been able to take advantage of what has been given them underneath. Larry Garner, good morning. Gregory Gordy, how many bottles did y'all go through last night? Geez, I mean, I'll say it again, man. The only pour I have is when the game when the game ends, we start the show. So, Shane O'Mac, last night sucked for sure. It only shows that the Tigers are coming. We haven't arrived yet. Rouge Joker, I woke up out of a dead sleep mad. LOL, hate it. Trevor Bittner, good morning. Bryce Burks, good morning. Shelby Kelly, the Edo stuff from last night was hilarious. This is last night on Whiskey and Wine. T-Bop said, like, bring Edo back for this game because he owns Georgia. Like, can you imagine if Kirby walked out of the SEC Championship game and is like, they start playing a Cajun, Zydeco or whatever, like, that's Ed Ogeron's music. It was pretty funny. Like 2018 in Baton Rouge, 2019 SEC Championship, Eddie O's teams did destroy Kirby's teams. I mean, ain't no doubt about that. Donovan Thibodeau, morning Matt, wondering where is the team that beat Bama? We haven't been the same since. They were that team last week against UAB. I think you very obviously had a letdown spot against Arkansas, to be expected. You played really well last week against UAB in the rain and bad conditions. I mean, you were fine a week ago. And then, boy, I think you were reading your paper clippings yesterday, man. I'm thinking ahead of what was there. And, that the line I've used in a lot of different places, LSU's not good enough to roll their helmets out and just think they can beat people. You got to show up. And that's the thing, is mostly this year they have. So that's why yesterday was so disappointing. Caleb reminded me of the Florida State game, kind of, even though this one hurts 10 times worse. Well, the reason it hurts 10 times worse, Caleb, is because of the stakes. I mean, coming into this season, the Florida State loss was just kind of validation of a lot of the questions we had. But you had improved so much over the course of the season, had so much to play for, that losing that game is very deflating. Trivia Carter, good morning. 192 watching. Do me a favor, if you would, on YouTube, please smash that like button. If you're new, please subscribe up to the channel. Facebook, please like the page, share the post. Jesse Brown, what's now the likelihood LSU comes full circle and plays Florida State again? I don't think that that's likely because I don't know that there is an ACC Bowl tie-in that would align LSU and Florida State. And I don't know that you'd want that either, because you're going to play Florida State to open next year as well. So, you know, if LSU were to somehow end up in the Orange Bowl, which I don't think is even possible, that's an ACC matchup. You're going to play the ACC champion, because Clemson's loss yesterday eliminates them from the playoff. So you are, if you did, yeah, I don't think, I'm looking at the ACC's affiliations right now. The only one possible would be ReliaQuest, which is the former Outback Bowl. And man, I don't see LSU falling there. LSU loses to Georgia, they're going to end up in the Citrus Bowl. So, you know, that's a bummer, but I think that's your floor. So I don't think you end up playing Florida State. Yeah, Huey Lipsy said bowl projection. If you lose to Georgia, I think you're in the Citrus Bowl. Probably against a Big Ten team, Iowa, maybe Penn State. That's probably what you're looking at, which is a bummer, man. It's a real bummer. Brian Arsenault, A&M finished our season by winning their bowl game. Damon St. Pierre, we're just not deep enough to be able to deal with multiple injuries. Yeah, Damian St. Pierre. Look, man, injuries didn't hurt LSU last night, man. Devon Achane, guys, it is this simple. Devon Achane ran 38 times for 215 yards. You didn't tackle their running back. I mean, LSU's run defense had been so good all year. There was nobody hurt on LSU's defensive front. It was the same defensive front that we have seen stifle Mississippi State, stifle Ole Miss's running game, stifle Florida. Bama. I mean, there was, I don't know what to tell you, bro. Injuries had nothing to do with last night. You were without Jarpinar Converse, who had a concussion, and so Jay Ward played the other corner, and Sage Ryan slid into nickel. But, that didn't cost you the game, brother. I mean, it is simple. They threw 18 passes. Devon Achane ran it 38 times. I mean, you just couldn't tackle number 6. It's their offensive line got after you, moved bodies, and Achane ran hard. It's that simple. And you didn't get out coached or out schemed. You got outplayed at the line of scrimmage. Let me rephrase. I don't want to take complete culpability off the coaches. Coaches didn't have their players ready to play. So that falls on the coaches. 100% that falls on the coaches. But it's not like Jimbo dialed up some great game plan. They ran Achane 38 times. It would just give it to 6. That's what they did. The 15-play, 90-yard touchdown drive. Run, screen, run, screen, run, 9-yard pass, run, 4-yard pass, run, 2-yard reception, run. The longest pass was 9 yards on a 15-play drive. They threw 3 passes, 12 runs, three passes. I don't know what to tell you, bro. They didn't. They just handed the ball to 6, and he ran right up your donkey all night. They just moved bodies and ran the ball. Brambo beat Georgia, win the Sugar Bowl, finish 11-3, get momentum for a natty run next year. Hey, man. Look, that's your best case scenario, right? Beat Georgia, win the SEC, go to the Sugar Bowl, probably play Kansas State, maybe get some retribution from a year ago, and set up a great opportunity for next year. Absolutely. Beating Georgia's not easy, not going to be easy. But I think Georgia at this point knows they're in the playoff regardless. And they lost the SEC championship a year ago. So, and I would expect a bounce back from LSU. I do not expect that after 2 weeks in a row. Apollo Balboa, Matt, did a 10-2 Bama team have a more successful season than a 9-4 LSU? Um, so much of that's just based on expectations, right? For Bama, if they're not in the playoff, it's a disappointment. If for LSU, you had back-to-back 500 seasons and you won the West and beat Bama. So this was a very clear improvement for LSU. Let's see. Trivia, I called it. I know everybody was overlooking the Maggies. I mean, it doesn't matter what fans thought. Look, I looked at an 11-game sample and said LSU's come to play every week, even in game. Last night was the outlier. So what matters is the players, not what fans or media think. Hunter Picard, morning, Matt. Let's not forget we're still playing for a conference championship. It sucks, but the future's bright. Yeah. Roger Dodger, good morning, Matt. Isn't it nice to have expectations again? At least the Saints should win today. Oh, because LSU lost. Hey, scrap that last week. They both won last week. Brambo, LSU will be 10-3. They will be SC champions. If they are, great. I mean, I'd be ecstatic. I don't look at the SC championship as a consolation, man. That's a great prize to have a chance to win. Hey, shout out to Brock, y'all. Of course, nights and weekends are always open as an alternative to the ER. All the subspecialties. So if you do need an orthopedist today, you can always get by Brock. Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. Man, with all the rain we've been having, our phones have been I woke up this morning to a text at like 7:30. Our repair crews were out there doing work. So we're out there, man. If you got a roof leak, you need roof repair, replacement, we can help you out. Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. Do business with someone you know. Hudco is the website is pinned in the chat right there. And of course, Restored Motions and RestoredMotions.com. If you got pain, book a session with Crystal Poche over at Restored Motions. I will put the link in comments. There we go. Michael Thacker, good morning. Lost stings a lot. Funny how expectations change. Anthony Gugliusa, good morning. Gonna say that was an embarrassing loss. Tapping out till next year. Nah, man, you gotta watch the SEC championship, dude. LSU's playing for an SEC championship next week, man. Alex Gonzalez, why is the Citrus Bowl on Monday at 1 p.m.? Because unfortunately, Alex, with January 1st being a Sunday this year, with January 1st being a Sunday this year, the college doesn't go head to head against the NFL. So this happens, right, cyclically every now and again. So let me just look up the schedule. So I know the Sugar Bowl is like 11 a.m. on New Year's Eve. Here you go. So Orange Bowl is on the Friday the 30th. Peach, Fiesta, Sugar are all on Saturday the 31st. And then Cotton and Rose are on January 2nd this year. So that's why, because Sunday is the 1st. So it kind of flips the bowl schedule on its head. Boo Daddy, I know it wasn't just Daniels, but he needs to go. Boo Daddy, look, man, there were some people last night on Whiskey and Wine saying that, and it's just stupid to say that, man. I'm not calling you stupid. It's a short-sighted, stupid point of view to say that a guy who started 40 collegiate games, you want him to go. Jaden Daniels, for much of this year, is the only reason you had a pulse offensively. When you had no offensive line, his ability to improvise, run, and make plays was your offense. At times this year, we did see him develop with these receivers, and you give him another year with this system, with these players, with these coaches. How in the world could you not understand the value of that? I mean, look at Joe Burrow as a case in point. 2018 Joe Burrow was not a great player by any stretch. 2018 Joe Burrow did not throw a touchdown pass in the month of October. Went the entire month of October without a touchdown pass. I mean, how easily you all forget. Like, it's just, so what are you gonna do? You're gonna play Garrett Nussmeier, who doesn't ever protect the football, or a young player in Walker Howard and take your lumps? No, man. Give me the guy that started 40 collegiate games. Sorry about that, y'all. I had to stop his backpack and give him his medicine. So sorry. Appreciate you for hanging out. Sorry about that. 245 watching on YouTube. Much appreciated. Please smash that like button. 69 there on Facebook. Please like the page, share the post. Chris Anthony, good morning. Had a bet in July. LSU wins the SC championship. After playing so bad last night, they may come out blazing and pull it off. Craig Duguy, good morning. Don't know why so many people are furious. It's upsetting. But 6-6 was the consensus. We ended 9-3. I'll take it. Well, I mean, Craig, yes, listen, again, and I don't think 6-6 was a consensus. I mean, I picked him 8-4. I think a lot of people had him around 8 wins. You know, but you can't, listen, you can't mitigate the sting of losing that game when you had so much on the line, because over the course of the season, that expectation changes. So yes, at some point we will pull back to the 10,000-foot view and take account of the season in its entirety as a whole, and be thrilled with a lot of the stuff we saw. But that doesn't make the sting of last night any less. I mean, you go on the road and beat a 4-win football team, and you're playing in the SC championship game with potential playoff spot on the line. And now you're looking ahead to this week going, if you lose, you're probably in Citrus Bowl. Like, those are pretty drastic, alternate realities. So, Patrick Berg last morning, Matt, as much as last night hurt to go 9-3 with so many doubters, is an accomplishment. Go 1-1 these last games, get to 10 wins. It's great. Brandon Garner, their O-line flat out whipped our D-line. That's a fact. Adam Keene, doesn't matter what was supposed to do. We had everything in front of us. I agree with that. Christian Myers, I give LSU 0% chance of winning. Georgia's that good. Christian, Georgia is, I'll say this again, when Georgia plays their best, they're the best team in the country. I also watched Georgia struggle against Kent State. I saw Georgia should have lost to Missouri. I know a lot of people just look at that final score and think it was just closer than it should have been. Missouri had a goal-to-go situation where if they put up a touchdown, Georgia doesn't have enough time to come back and win the game. But Georgia stiffened, held Missouri to a field goal, and Missouri had an open guy in the end zone and missed him. Georgia probably should have lost the game to Missouri. They didn't score a touchdown the first half last week against Kentucky. And then Georgia Tech gave them a game for a half as well. And maybe it's like Georgia Tech, they sleepwalk through a half and then wake up and they roll people. And that may be what happens next week. But Uh, I've seen Georgia look awesome, like they did against Tennessee and like they did against Oregon, and maybe they'll be locked in this SEC championship game for certain. Maybe they will be, or maybe they sleepwalk next week and get clipped. That's why they play the game, man. To say zero, but to say 0% chance is just stupid. Come on. I'm not saying it's a great shot, but to say zero, come on. Alus Malhoy, what's going on? Ross Hambone, I may have missed it, but A-Chain was a game time decision. They never mentioned the broadcast. My God, you have no idea how much I loathe listening to Joe Tessitore. Joe Tessitore's a great man, hell of a nice guy, and I think a really good boxing broadcaster. He just on the football call is just nauseating. And LSU he had LSU 6 times this year. He and McElroy. And I really am afraid that when the SEC moves to the ABC contract, that Joe Tess and McElroy are going to get that 2:30 ABC game, and we're going to have to hear him all the time. And I am dreading that. Ugh. I mean, basically think of what Brad and Gary are now on CBS. If that becomes Joe Tess and McElroy. Oh, please God. Please no. Dana Boyd, it's obvious Texas A&M defensive coordinator understood his assignment. Yeah. You know what's so odd, and this is the hard part about not getting able to watch the all 22 during the games, because you don't get to see what's happening in the secondary. But you could see so many times, they dropped 7 or 8, so they were rushing either 3 or 4, and but like everybody's done that this year against LSU largely, and we've just seen it with such drastically different results, even from game to game. Like, look at Arkansas. I mean, Arkansas came up with like 7 sacks in the game, rushing 3 or 4. Anyway, I'll have to, trust people who know way more than me, who get to watch the all 22 to explain what they were doing different, because watching A&M rush 3 or 4 was no different than we've seen basically everybody do against LSU. So, what led to the different result? Tulane Cotton Bowl against Tennessee. No, Mark, Tennessee can't go to the Cotton Bowl. Tennessee will either be in either the Sugar, but likely the Orange Bowl, if LSU loses to the SEC does not have a tie-in with the Cotton Bowl this year. The only years that would happen is when the Sugar is part of the playoff, and so the SEC champion is displaced. So, so no, like the SEC is not going to the Cotton Bowl. This year will be playoff, Sugar, Orange, and then Citrus, which is likely if LSU loses to Georgia, where LSU ends up. Mark Hammond, good morning. Gave them life, paid a price, a lot to play for. I trust Brian Kelly will have them ready. That was such a disappointing part of last night, man. Jonas Melanson, Chris Laborde, Joe Burrow was not a 4-year starter in Division I football. Look, okay, how about this? Hendon Hooker. How about Hendon Hooker? He was. Did Hendon Hooker benefit by coming back for a 5th season? Come on, man. Like, to say, to disregard the value of experience is so short-sighted that all it does is validate your personal bias against the player. Like, at the most important position in organized sports, if you can't understand why experience is valuable, then we don't need to have a conversation. Like, you have an inherent bias against a player and are not allowing for improvement when you're instead saying, I'd rather take a player with no experience and give him the benefit of the doubt that he'll improve. Craig Duke, maybe it stung less for me because I stayed sober. 278 watching on YouTube. Love that. Please smash that like button if you would. I know we can get that number up. LSU Sports Fanatic. Good morning, Jared Guillory, Nikki C. By the way, I'll hang here for as long as y'all want. So I'm gonna go to church at 11:30. But if y'all are patient with me, I'll get to all your comments. Nikki C. Lane Kiffin is officially staying with Ole Miss. Should Auburn hire Freeze? Yeah, no, they're not keeping Cadillac, but I think they'll announce Hugh Freeze today. Raymond Mortimat, seems the defensive game plan was pretty simple. Stop A-Chain, force the freshman quarterback to beat you. Yeah, and they couldn't stop A-Chain. Tyler Barris, is Madhouse already checked out? Why would you assume that? I mean, Lindsey Rains, I think we can all agree this was a complete team fail. Murder Giraffe, good morning. Dane Bergeron, good morning. Had to have help from Colonel Taylor watching the game last night. Not bad company to keep. Dylan Meadows, good morning. Let's see, if Jaden opts out of the bowl, does that mean he will not be coming back for next year? I mean, I would assume that's the case. I mean, he would announce that if he opts out of the bowl, he's announcing he's entering the draft. But I don't know what he's going to do. I don't have any inside information there. I'm tired of RPO on third and short. Give the ball, the running back straight up. Here's the thing, though. That play call was perfect. Like, TV showed you the end zone copy. And it was perfect. John Emery had a gap. Well, gap is probably not apropos. Had a wide lane in which to run where he puts his foot in the ground, makes one man miss. He could score. It was the perfect play call. Jaden made the wrong read. I mean, it was the perfect play call. Jaden pulled it. The end crashed on him and knocked the ball out. So, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, largely, I agree. Who is that? LSU Sports Fanatic. Largely, I agree that when you get into like 4th and 1 situations and you put a quarterback or player in the shotgun and you basically give a defense a running start edge, I'm with you on that. Like, I get it. Like, go under center and have your quarterback sneak the ball in a gap. Like, look at the line, wherever there's a gap, just quick snap it and fall for it. I'm with you. I think sometimes a lot of that is way overthought. But that play, I don't have a problem with that play because it was there, brother. I mean, and you give yourself an option. If they do crash down on the back, on the give, you have an athletic quarterback that can get to the edge. And if they leave you a hole like they did, a dynamic player like John Emery can run through it. So I don't have a problem with that play call. The quarterback made the wrong read. LSU's going to put a hurting on Georgia because Georgia's more focused on winning a natty. Hope so. I don't know if they'll put a hurting on them, but Brad David, how does LSU keep kicking the ball out of bounds? Great question. And after they kicked it out of bounds, the next one was returned. It's stunning. I mean, they got to go, and that's Dybert. I mean, that's the freshman you recruited. I mean, you got to recruit a kicker that can just kick the ball through the end zone every play. There's a lot of things that are very obvious. What LSU needs to address this offseason. That's one of them. Got to go get a kicker that can kick the ball through the end zone on a kickoff. Yes, that's one thing you need. John Deuce, and I mean, what Brad? They're trying to prevent returns because LSU's not been good at covering kicks, and they don't have someone who can consistently kick it through the end zone. John Duce, morning Scone, Georgia loss going to put a spanking on us if we play like we did the last 2 games. I disagree on the last 2 games because LSU was really, really good against UAB. If you're talking about Arkansas, Joseph Fallsgraf, we were thoroughly outcoached last night. Again, there was nothing curious about what Texas A&M did. That's, I think, where you're missing the point. Like, this isn't, Jimbo didn't put together some, like, dynamic, awesome, amazing, otherworldly game plan. Devon Achane ran 38 times, y'all. This ain't hard. That was like Sean Alexander in 96. They just kept giving the ball to Devon Achane, and nobody wanted to tackle him. That wasn't some brilliant game plan. Like, you just got your behind whipped at the line of scrimmage, period. That's what happened. Like, you got your behind whipped at the line of scrimmage. There's nothing else to say. Like, Jimbo didn't devise a masterful game plan. They handed the ball to the running back 38 times. Bro, 38 carries. That was like what Auburn was doing with Trey Mason in 2013. They just gave the ball. That's what Bama was doing with Derrick Henry by the end of 2015. Like, just give the ball to the big kid that nobody wants to tackle. And it worked. And it worked last night for Texas A&M. Like, to say you got out coached, I mean, to the extent, this is what I would agree. You got out coached to the extent that your coaching staff did not have your players ready to go. Like, that falls very much on Brian Kelly and this staff. Like, you did not have those players locked in and ready to go. And that is on your coaches. And I don't. He even said after the game, like, he was at a loss. If you listen to Brian Kelly's post-game press conference, and I get it. Like, the LSU they did not want to tackle Achane, and it's stunning because LSU's been so good, especially in the run defense all year. They just had no interest in tackling that kid last night. Let's see. Brad Johnson, good morning. Headed to the game for me and wifey's 23rd anniversary. Where the tail haters gonna be? All right, Brad. I would assume you mean if you're going to the game today, I assume you mean the Saints-Niners game? So you're out in the Bay Area? Man, that'd be 7:51 out there. Good morning. Nicholas Cantrell, good morning. Say we lose to Georgia, what bowl do we slide to? Going over that a couple times for those that have missed it. That's likely the Citrus Bowl. Again, the highest ranked SEC team not in the playoff will go to the Sugar Bowl. So that will likely be Alabama. And then the next highest ranked team is likely going to play Clemson in the Orange Bowl, and that will likely be Tennessee. Had LSU won last night and lost to Georgia, you would have been looking at either Sugar or Orange. Now you beat Georgia. It's this simple. You beat Georgia, you go to the Sugar Bowl as the SEC champion, and you probably play Kansas State. You'll play the loser of you'll play the loser of you'll play Kansas State. Because if TCU wins, they're the playoff. If Kansas State wins, they go to the Sugar Bowl as the Big 12 champion. So, anyway, so you're either going to play, you beat Georgia and you play Kansas State in the Sugar Bowl, or you lose to Georgia and you likely go to the Citrus Bowl and play a Big Ten team, like probably Iowa or Penn State. Jaden Daniels throwing 35 times is ridiculous. You were playing catch up at the end. I mean, that's the bulk of what that was. I mean, I agree, but that's the bulk of what that was because you were playing catch up late. There wasn't a disparity in the first half or even midway through the third quarter. Dale Broussard would have been nice to see LSU stack the box against a run, make the freshman try to beat you with his arm. Dale, while I'm with you, man, we saw a lot of looks where you had 23, 30, and 40 all on the field at the same time. So, I mean, you were playing with 3 linebacker sets, man. It wasn't like you were playing dime. I mean, sometimes it really comes down to, you have to win at the line of scrimmage and make a tackle. Let's see. Barry Johnson, good news. LSU won the West with a bunch of freshmen and transfer players. They ruined Alabama's season, and this was the worst team Brian Kelly will have. Just got caught looking ahead. There's a lot of truth to that, Barry. But I'll also say this. if you want to take that viewpoint, awesome. If you're at a point where you can, because I think based on what I'm getting from y'all today is there's really everybody's in basically one of two spots. You're massively disappointed by the loss because of everything you still had to play for, or you've already moved to the point where you're putting into perspective what this season was maybe supposed to be, where you came from, and how far you've come in 1 year, and one bad night isn't going to stain that. So, and I think in time we'll all get to that place where we look and go, man, what a year one, you know. But I understand if this morning you're not at the point where you're ready to be there. So, as always, just shout out to Brock, the Bandage Orthopedic Clinic, after hours clinic, open nights and weekends, alternative to the ER. Go check them out. Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. Hudco's pinned in the chat on YouTube and Facebook. Already a bunch of calls this morning about leaks because of the rain yesterday. It's crazy. Rain on Thanksgiving, rain yesterday, rain Friday. When it rains, our phones ring. People get water in their house. So if you got a roof issue, give us a shout. Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. You can call us. People are working right now. 364-1007, 225-364-1007. Hudco Roofing. And Restored Motions, restoredmotions.com. You got pain, book a session with Crystal Poche over at Restored Motions. Brad David, what do you expect to happen with the coaching carousel? Look, Matt Rule was introduced at Nebraska. I think it sounds like Hugh Freeze is going to be the Auburn coach. And we'll wait and see about the other jobs. Interesting, I don't know if y'all saw today, but David Shaw stepped down at Stanford after 12 seasons, so Stanford job is open. Be interesting to see who else gets axed today. I bet Hunt calls in sick tomorrow. What a buffoon. Why? Because of the parody thing we did on Friday? Get out of here. That was hilarious. That was objectively hilarious. That's a parody. Like, parodies are fun. They're funny. That's why people laugh at political parodies on SNL, or when they Weekend Update would parody Stephen A. Smith. I mean, it's a joke. It's funny. It's what it is. Like, I picked LSU to win. I mean, I'm the one who sat here and said definitively, like, I was as confident yesterday as I was in any game, including Ole Miss. Y'all know how confident I was in that one. Because I had an 11-game sample of LSU showing up, and A&M's not a good football team. They're not a good football team. They have some good players, but they're not a good team. And you've seen that over the course of the season. So, and I thought LSU would show up. They didn't. Disappointing. Alan Black, what's up? Debo, happy we went 9-3, still let down. If you're 9-2 with A&M, that went 4-7. Unfortunate. Yep. Jeb Whitley, Matt, is defensive line depth and offensive line maturity the biggest potential upgrade to the team next year? Defensive line, but look, sure, I think that's safe to say. Yeah. You'll get Mason Smith back. I think the big thing to watch this offseason, y'all, is what happens with Roy and Guillory, because look, you get Mason Smith back next year, and you'll also have Mekhi Wingo as a junior. And then if both Roy and Guillory come back, then you're 4 deep there on the defensive interior is pretty impressive. And that's not even including the guys that were freshmen this year, like Bryce Langston and Ty G. Hill and Fitzgerald West. And then you're bringing another class behind them. Yeah, I mean, you are going to be deep and talented on that defensive front next year. And then offensive line, yeah, look, I mean, you're going to return your entire starting 5. And actually, really your first 6, because I don't know if y'all noticed, but Dellinger and Frazier rotated a lot yesterday. So, like, Frazier got the start and played the first 2 series. Dellinger played the next 2 series and then started the second half. And then they alternated series after that in the second half. Let's see. Let's see. Drew Smith, good morning. Carrie Smith, Sage Ryan. Kerry Smith talking about Sage Ryan and Kyron Lacey. Kyron Lacey had a drop in the. He had 2 drops. The first one on the first possession on the 3rd and 6. It was a high throw. It's hard to, I think, classify that as a drop. The throw was high, but I guess he could have had it for sure. It was a 3rd and 5. Would have continued the first possession. And then LSU had the ball, got the ball 3rd and 25 with a minute 10 to play in the first half. They threw it over the middle to Neighbors for 12 yards. Jure for 10 yards. They threw the flag. No, it wasn't that. It was the possession before. It was the possession where they kicked the field goal. That was the possession where they had the PI that they picked up. Unbelievable. But, yeah, so you opened with a punt. They scored a touchdown. You scored a touchdown. They kicked a field goal. You get the ball back. You're driving. And LSU was at their, 24. They ran Noah Kane for 2. Mason Taylor got 6. So you're at the 16-yard line on 3rd and 2. And they had, again, beautiful play design, beautiful play call. That's often what you lack whenever you criticize like play call or coaching. Den Brock calls the perfect play. He's got Kyron Lacey open on the right side. Jaden Daniels puts it on him, and Lacey drops the ball. I mean, he catches the ball. You have 1st and goal at worst. At best, he scores on that play. And now you're up 14-10. Just even when they had opportunities to make plays, disappointing, man, for sure. Where are we? April Renee, good morning. Refs for no help. I'm not going to blame the refs for that game. I mean, look, yes, it's true. LSU didn't play their best. Picking up the PI call at the end of the first half hurt and cost you points. I mean, look, you were at their 48. If they don't pick up the PI, you're at their 33. You're at their 33 with a first down and about 40 seconds to play in the half. You're probably getting points there. So, I mean, yeah. The touchdown at the end that looked like on the 4th down, looked like Jure caught it. I mean, I don't know what a touchdown. Like, I'll tell you, I'll have no idea what they're looking for with what's a catch, what's not. I mean, Jure caught the ball. He had a foot in bounds. He takes another step out of bounds, stumbles to the ground. As he's going to the ground, he hits and the ball comes out. Like, if that were not in the end zone, but in the field of play, catch, foot down, go out of bounds, like that's a catch. But in the end zone, it's not. I don't get it. I mean, like, I don't think that cost them the game. But I don't like that. I don't know how that wasn't a touchdown. The holding on Emory Jones was a big play. When it looked like you were, after the scoop and score, you got putting 3 first downs together. You were at their 37-yard line. On 3rd and 6, Jaden runs for 8 yards. Looks like you're going to have the first down. They call holding on Emory Jones. It was a little ticky-tack. But, look, if you're doing the thing where you're rolling back, looking at officials' calls, and I'm not saying you're blaming officials, but if you're looking at officials' calls, it's generally because you lost a game. And you're looking for, where did somebody screw us sort of thing. And I don't think that happened. I mean, LSU, guys, we keep going back to it. Like, Devon Achane ran the ball 38 times for 215 yards. 38 times. I mean, that team came into the game. Texas A&M came into that game averaging about 120 rush yards a game. I mean, they were brutal. They had no offense. And they ran last night for 200. Achane ran 38 times for 215 in the ball game. And as a team, A&M ran it for 274 yards, averaged 5.5 yards a carry. You want to know why they were always in 3rd and 1? Because they were averaging 5 yards a carry. I mean, it's really kind of simple. Let's see. High fly, got our butts kicked. All I heard was Brian Kelly couldn't win. Big game. I'm going to go back to that because some people have mentioned that, Ty. the Brian Kelly can't win the big game thing is stupid, and that comes from people who watch Brian Kelly lose in the playoff and in the BCS championship and all that sort of stuff. And he had vastly inferior teams. It was no different than when Charlie Weiss was in the Sugar Bowl and the Fiesta Bowl in back-to-back years with Notre Dame teams that had no business being there, but were in those games because they were Notre Dame and they were a brand and they sold tickets. Brian Kelly's teams at Notre Dame were not talent-wise able to compete with Alabama and Clemson and the like in the playoff years. So that's why he's here, is because he can get players that are able to compete. Yesterday wasn't a big game in the sense of that. Like, the Brian Kelly isn't a big game coach. People are the ones that point out the games against the better teams, better opponents. You were playing a 4-win team last night. You were playing a bad football team. You just didn't show up. You got popped by a bad football team last night. And yes, that absolutely falls on coaches for not having their guys up and ready to play. Absolutely, it does. But that doesn't play into that narrative about the big game coach. I mean, the biggest game you had on your schedule this year was Alabama. How did that go? Bentley Spears, Renee Marks, Robbie White, Morning Matt. Could you imagine a whiskey and wine where you and T-Bob take some of the dumb calls Hanny has to on post-game? That's why we do it, Robbie, so we don't have to do phone calls. So why don't take phone calls on AFR? I mean, I know I've said this before, but like, as a genre, sports talk that is caller driven does not win because people don't want to hear callers. Callers generally have nothing of value to say. I mean, if I spend all day prepping a show, I'm going to be more prepared with opinions than the person who randomly on a whim picks up the phone to call and yell or whatever the case may be. So, yeah. Caller-driven radio sucks. Nobody wants to hear calls. I mean, that's not an opinion. Like, there is industry data. Only 2% of an audience will ever call. That's not saying calls regular. That 2% would ever pick up the phone. Meaning 98% of your audience has no interest in ever calling a show. So I do the show for the 98%, not the 2%. 2%, whatever. Get your own show. Get your own show and crush it, please. Joseph Buggs, do you think Jaden regressed last night? No. Jonathan Amon, I like Brian Kelly. Seems like a good fit. What are your thoughts? I think he's done just fine. Todd Harris, no way Georgia overlooks LSU. LSU's owned the Dogs in recent years. Todd, they're probably focused. I mean, it's an SEC championship game, but again, they lost last year in the SEC championship game to Bama. And they know they're going to play for a championship either way. They're in the playoff either way. Feels a lot more like Tennessee in 2001. That's probably the better comp. You know, Tennessee was a heavy favorite. They'd already beaten LSU that year. They knew if they won, they were going to the Orange Bowl, or the Rose Bowl to take on that 0-1 Miami team. And LSU popped them. Jason Duplantis, Sonny Warbington, Stephen Dufour, LSU Notre Dame in the Citrus. That's actually a spicy matchup, given the coaching situation. It could happen. Cliff Satoon, good morning. It doesn't matter. Was that a TD by Jure? Talked about it a little bit. I think so, but then again, I'm telling you honestly, I don't know the catch rules clearly. I mean, I know the NFL changed theirs where you don't have to survive the ground like you used to, but I thought that yes, Jure had possession, foot down. I don't know why that wasn't a touchdown. I'm telling you just flatly, I don't understand all the rules with catching, with what's a catch, and that in and of itself is so bizarre, right? The fact that you can watch someone possess a football, has clear possession, and a foot down in bounds. But it's not a catch. Like, what? I don't know what else you want to do. I mean, Tony Cortello, morning. Jaden Daniels wouldn't challenge A&M DBs downfield. That's Tony. That's one of the. Again, I'll say it, I'm being repetitive. I know, but that's where you got to see the all 22. If they're rushing 3 and dropping 8, then you've got 8 dudes covering 3. Well, challenge what? You want him to throw in a double coverage? I mean, that's why you have to see the all 22 to see what was there. What was he looking at? And invariably, there's going to be opportunities that he had. For me, the thing that I look at is, all right, if you're going to drop 8 in coverage, then where are the outlets? Where's the running back screen, the tight end screen to say, all right, you're gonna take away the deep ball. And look, they did that some with Malik last night. There were times Malik caught the ball, underneath 8 yards, 12 yards. But yeah, airing it out, those opportunities weren't really there last night. Jaden's ankle is a worry. I would agree with that. I mean, the fact that he came back in the game is a good sign. They taped it up and put him back in, but you better believe that thing is going to be swollen and sore today and all week. I would guess he's going to elevate that thing and probably get a bunch of treatment and not do much. Aggies fans stormed the field after finishing 5-7. Well, they stormed the field after being the number 5 team in the country. That's like Vanderbilt stormed the field last week after they beat Florida. The 2-point conversion call was mind-blowing. So the explanation, Bentley, and I thought the same thing too. I didn't understand why you would go for 2. Apparently the reason is because if A&M had kicked a field goal, you would still be down 2 scores. So it would have been 16. So that's what the analytics say is in that situation, you go for 2 because of that reason. Whatever. I thought the same thing everybody did. Like, what good does going for 2 in that situation do you? But anyway. Dumb calls are, well, dumb. I'll hang up and listen. Adam Keene, good morning. Brett LeBlanc. We're all in agreement. Hunt opened Pandora's box with that little skit. I know you're being tongue-in-cheek, but again, like, it was a parody. It was hilarious. Even A&M people who watched it laughed and thought it was funny because it was objectively funny. I mean, it was a parody. So, yes, it was very funny and will forever be very funny every time I watch it. And no, I don't think that had any. I don't think they were playing that skit that Hunt did in like A&M team meetings to get them fired up for the game. I think it certainly made its way around the internet over the last 48 hours, and it was hilarious. All right, smash that like button if you would. 297 still hanging out there on YouTube. Appreciate that. Facebook, please like the Matt Moscona page, share the post. If you're new on YouTube, please subscribe up to the channel as well. I'll remind you, we're here every day, like literally every day. This is episode 1709, so 1,709 consecutive days we've done Morning Scone. We're coming up on 5 years of Morning Scone. Have never missed a day, which is crazy. That this has become like such a routine part of my day and for a lot of you as well. So greatly appreciate y'all being here. I'm trying to go a little quickly because I know we're way behind on comments, so I want to make sure I get to some. Now you got to take this Brian Kelly blowout to another blowout at Georgia and whatever bowl game the starters sit out and lose again. Or maybe you win the SEC this week and win a bowl game. Or maybe you lose to Georgia and win your bowl game and get to 10 wins. I mean, it's seldom ever as bad as it seems and seldom ever as good as it seems, right? That's why I know this isn't the nature of fans, which I'm not telling you need to be this, but it's why being even keel is helpful. Like, you don't get too high with the wins or too low with the losses and recognize what's ahead. But there's no fun in being a fan if you don't get to ride the emotional roller coaster. So I get it. In your mouth, hee. You can't say LSU is always prepared to play, then give examples of them down big early in games. If they were prepared to play, they wouldn't be down to begin with. So I disagree with that because the other team is trying too. And sometimes teams are, like, I've given this example a bunch, is like when sometimes teams are like counterpunchers, like fighters, where you let the other guy throw a few, and you get your timing, and you wait to counterattack. And I think that's a very common approach is, all right, let me see what you're going to do, and then I'm going to react to it. And we've seen LSU do that all year. And the team has remained level enough to come back after being down. That's just a symptom, a quality of this team. So I disagree. Of course, you would love to come out and get a 3-and-out and then score on your first possession and never trail. That's also just not reality in football or really any sport. I mean, sometimes you get down and have to come back, and sometimes you lead early. Let's see. Kerry Smith, 4 losses on the season's tough, even though we exceeded expectations. Well, they got 3, so of course 4 would be if they lose next week. But also keep in mind you'd be playing an extra game at the time as well if you lose next week. Blake Nash, Auburn fan here. LSU to the SC title game first year. Brian Kelly, great year if you ask me. They'll be fine, and you still play Georgia. Every game is different. Every game is different. We'll see. LSU is going to be a big underdog this week. It should be a big underdog this week. Be interesting to see what kind of effort they get next week. Let's see, Citrus Bowl, January 1. No, I think we looked up Citrus Bowl's January 2. LSU's beautiful 5-1 SC championship game. America's about to take the first L since 2005. Maybe. Or maybe they win like they did in that first SC championship game in 2001 when they were a big underdog to the number 2 team in the country. So we go play the game. Let's see it. Barry, it's kind of hilarious, man. Like, and I get it. This is what fans do. But like when LSU lost to Florida State, there was this epic melt, and a lot of you, like, I could go back and look up a lot of the comments. I won't do it today for the sake of time, but a lot of you thought LSU would not win a conference game. Like, it sounds so stupid now, but there were a lot of you when we were doing this show the day after that Monday after Florida State, where a lot of you thought LSU would not win a conference game. Y'all were saying Russ Mitchell was right, picking LSU 4-8. A lot of you were saying that. After LSU lost to Tennessee the way they did, there were a lot of you saying LSU wouldn't win again. Again, it's not easy to be level-headed in a situation like this. Hey, bud. Hey, Drew, come see. Drew. Hey, come say hi to Dad's show. Come see. Well, later we're going to get dressed and we'll go for Dad's car. But Dad's going to church. Come see. Well, then I'll come home and Drew and Daddy will go for in the car. To where?
Out.
Okay. Tomorrow's Monday. Hey, you want to say hi to Dad's show?
Hi, Dad's show.
Okay. Do you want to say good morning?
Good morning.
You want to blow him a kiss? Mm-hmm. Oh, that was very sweet. Hey, so today is Sunday. Do you know who plays football today?
Saints.
The Saints play football today.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, what do we say when the Saints are playing?
Who that?
Who dat? And unfortunately, everybody dat
Not
right now.
Saints.
And after the Saints play, we can, what?
Move.
We need to clip your nails, boy. Huh? I love you.
And then.
I love you. I love you, Drew. I love you, Drew.
Yes.
I love you, Drew.
I love you, Daddy.
Oh, that was so sweet. Okay, you can go play.
Now up.
All right. See you later. Okay, we'll see you later. McStill, Benton, Troxclair. Yeah, saying it sucks to lose an opportunity to play for a championship. It's true. I mean, certainly not LSU's best team and not the best team that Brian Kelly will have here. But, yeah. I mean, you, with a win last night, you were entering the conference championship weekend with that on the line, and now that's gone. So now you recalibrate, and your opportunities to go win an SEC championship and play in the Sugar Bowl, which should not feel like a consolation prize, man. That should feel like a prize worth winning. Momentum change after the scoop and score. Had momentum chance to take the lead. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about that. The game changed on the scoop and score. You came out and you got the 3 and out to start the second half. You scored. You got another 3 and out. You had an opportunity there to go take the lead and take control of the game, and you gave up a defensive score. And it's kind of what we talked about, man. How do you lose to a bad team? You let them stay in the game with things like defensive scores and turnovers. And hey, Drew. Hang on one second. Drew. Hey, buddy, what's the matter? Okay. All right. Let's see. Let's see. I'm gonna go to the bottom and then scroll my way back up. So, Matt Gardner, with this win, how likely is it that Alabama sneaks in the playoff? Not. If Georgia beats LSU, they're in. If TCU beats Kansas State, they're in. I think we'd all agree Michigan beats Purdue in the Big Ten Championship, they're in. And then if Southern Cal wins the Pac-12 Championship, they're in. That's your 4. If any of those were to lose, Ohio State, I think, would be the next, the one-loss team that gets in. Bama's not getting in the playoff. Ohio State would be the next team up. Jaden Crochet, I see this as a repeat of Brian Kelly's later years in Notre Dame, as in lose to teams you have no business losing to, just like against Stanford in 2017, blown up by Michigan in 2019. Jaden, the problem with that comp is you're talking about when he's 12 years into his career in South Bend and he had built a program to whatever its ceiling was. This is a team that was put together with 19 transfers, with 2 freshman offensive tackles, with a 3-man rotation on the interior defensive line. Like, they exceeded expectations to such a degree that I think when you make comments like that, you lose sight of what it is you're actually looking for and how remarkable it is that they're in the position they're in. And a big part of that is just process, man. It's learning. It's all these guys who have not had a lot of success in college learning how to win. Ivan Salazar, Fisher exacted revenge on our Tigers. We played really poor, laid a rotten egg. Tigers will play 2 more games. Let's hope for redemption. Larry Francis, I'm upset about the loss, but very happy with this team. Never saw any quit. Defense was gassed. Brian Ashcraft, biggest plays were the 2 drops on 3rd down that Lacey dropped. Those were huge. I mean, one was on the opening possession of the game, and one probably would have got you a touchdown. I mean, he maybe scores on the one that would have given you the lead, would have given you a 14-10 lead in the second quarter. Those are huge plays, no doubt. Ernest Riley, after the Florida State loss, they wanted to run Brian Kelly and Jaden Nails out of town. Jerry Newsom, Matt, wanted to say thank you for your show. Look forward to many more to come. Good job. Love, Drew. Prayers for everyone. Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate that. Gulf South, crazy to think LSU has 2 more games left. 14 games in Brian Kelly's first year means they did something right. Also very true. Adrian Bailey, Alan Black, Depth showed last night on the D-line. Larry, I'd agree with you. I'd agree with you on that. I mean, you really played Roy, Wingo, and Guillory. I mean, that's basically all you played on your interior. Damon Perkins, Gregory Gordy, Von Bluesman, they started off sucking, with SEC game day being where it was. Old Scarface won another one. You also saw Nick Saban with the big scar on his face. I didn't see the story about what happened, and I watched about 5 minutes of the Iron Bowl. It was very obvious where that was headed. So, do you think it'll be Georgia versus USC, TCU versus Michigan? I do. If all of those teams win, Eric, I think Georgia's 1, Michigan's 2, TCU's 3, Southern Cal's 4. So you get Georgia, Southern Cal, and TCU, Michigan. I do. Or Michigan 2, TCU 3. Either way, I think that's your 2-3 matchup. Yes. Logan Mears, A&M is not a good team, but if you look back at their schedule, 5 of their losses are by 6 points or less. Maybe they weren't the scorching dumpster fire everyone was talking about, but they were, Logan. I mean, they were averaging 21 points a game this year, Logan. The only game all season before last night where they scored 30 points was the game against Sam Houston. They scored 20 points last week against UMass. I mean, at some point, you have to call it what it is. Like, when you have a sample size that big, you are what you are. You're a bad football team. Like, I could look at LSU in 2000. If you go, this is a sort of random, far back example, but I think about Jerry DiNardo's final year, 1999. They were a 3-8 football team, and they were very bad. They were a bad football team that lost a lot, and they fired Jerry DiNardo. They replaced him with Hal Hunter on an interim. Hal made the decision to bench Josh Booty and start Rohan Davey, and LSU got up, played a great game, and beat the team that won the West that year. It was very, very similar, right? But it doesn't mean they were a good football team. They had a shake-up and played really well one day against a team that kind of thought they would just roll, and it didn't happen. So, Saban ran into a shoulder pad and cut his face in practice. Got it. Yeah, I'm telling you, I did not watch any of SEC Nation, and I watched maybe 5 minutes, not of game time, like of actual world time of the Iron Bowl. Gregory Gordy, what did E-Rock think of the game? She was disappointed, for sure. Hey, Gulf Styles asking about the no touchdown call in the fourth down in the fourth quarter. I don't know, man. We have talked about it a couple times here today, and I just candidly don't know the difference in the catch rules. It's perplexing to me. I mean, it was, and we were at Don Juan, so I couldn't hear the explanation on TV, but I mean, Jure had possession of the ball and had a foot down. I don't know how that's not a touchdown. And the NFL has even changed the rule where you don't have to survive the ground anymore. Bizarre. It was bizarre. I thought it was a touchdown. I mean, I've watched enough football. No guy catches ball with a foot in bounds. That's a catch. Should have been a touchdown. How will the loss affect recruiting? I don't think it will, Ernest. Look, man, I've done this long enough and talked to the recruiting guys enough to know that fans react to a win or a loss way more than recruits do. Jeb Whitley rolling into church. Thank you for keeping us sane, Matt. Have a great Sunday. All right, Jeb. Say a few prayers for all of us, man. Larry Francis. Let's see, going for 2, not converting, kills momentum. I don't know that I agree with that. I don't know that I agree with that. I just think the defense needed to stop. They didn't get it. They picked on Sage. They threw, and LSU got dominated in the trenches. What I didn't see coming. Yeah, I didn't see that coming at all. But that was the game. AR-15 to the Saints. That's Anthony Richardson. Look, if you look at some of these mock drafts that have him in the top half of round 1, Saints aren't picking the top half of round 1, so he won't be on the board for the Saints to take. let's see, Brian Kelly was clueless in his post game. I don't think he was clueless, Bailey, and I did watch it. He was when he was asked, why things didn't go well, and I think, and look, when you give interviews like that, sometimes, especially in a post game, you got to keep in mind what the reason for a post game interview, like immediately after a game, is for reporters who have to write game stories and for news anchors who have to or reporters who have to put together a news package and they need to quote about the relevant things from the game. You don't have the luxury like sitting there and dissecting plays and spending 10 minutes explaining things. It's like you need pithy, quotable answers. I mean, it's post-game press conferences last 5 minutes. It's not like the 30-minute Monday presser where you can be elaborative and things like that. It's 5 minutes. Here's a quote on this guy, this health. What do you need to know to write your stories? And that's it. It's a get in, get out type thing. So I don't think he was clueless. I think with a game like that, there's just not much to say other than you got really just manhandled at the line of scrimmage. And so you take ownership as much as you can, and then you go on. But I'll tell you the thing that was maybe, I actually did clip this and put it on my social media, but he did say that this has been one of the most enjoyable years he's had watching these guys grow, and said this tonight, meaning the A&M game, wasn't a step back, it was a speed bump. And these guys are going to learn you got to bring it every week. Like, you've got to bring it every week in this league, especially on the road. And they will. They'll learn from it. Let's see how they do next week. All right, let's see. All right, y'all. Might be just about done. I got to go shower and get to church too. So let's see. 350. We're up over 315 watching. That's awesome. Thank you all so much. Please smash the like button if you're just here, and subscribe up to the channel. Is Garner coming back? No, Mekhi Garner's. So the super seniors, Jark Bernard Converse, Mekhi Gardner, Colby Richardson, Joe Fouché, they're all done. They're out of eligibility. Greg Brooks can come back as a super senior, and I hope he does. But you will absolutely have to go get secondary players in the portal. All right. Mark Babin, I hope Brian Kelly will be at LSU for a long time. Well, Mark, he's got a 10-year contract that 95% of it's guaranteed. So for better or worse, Brian Kelly and LSU are married for a decade. Let's see, Sage was there. It was just Muhammad's night to shine. Yeah, look, I mean, that bobbling play, I mean, Sage Ryan looked like he made a great play. I mean, he was there, the coverage was there, he knocked the ball loose, and Muhammad made a great play. What it is, man. All right. I think we're just about done. Kirk, how far does LSU fall? So that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, we'll see in the polls today. Look, you're going to fall below, as a 3-loss team, you're going to fall below the 2-loss teams. You got to have that expectation. So LSU's going to, like SC, Alabama, Clemson lost as well. So you were ahead of Clemson before. You'll probably be ahead of Clemson now. And Oregon lost to Oregon State, which helps. Tennessee's the one to watch, right? LSU's 9-3. Tennessee is 10-2. For bowl purposes, what I'm telling you is Tennessee and Penn State are the ones to watch. Because if LSU falls below Tennessee and Penn State, then, which I anticipate probably happens, I think SC will go to 4. Ohio State will drop probably to 5. Bama will move up to 6. You'll probably see Tennessee at 7, maybe LSU at 8, or Penn State at 8, and LSU at 9. We'll see. It's really how far does Ohio State drop, and I'm sure LSU will remain ahead of Clemson as well. So we'll see. But the polls today are not as significant as whatever the playoff committee elects to do next week after the SEC championship game. So, all right, y'all. Thanks for hanging out as always. Shout out to Brock, been a great sponsor here on Morning Scone for a lot of years. brortho.com. Of course, their after hours clinic open nights and weekends. So if you need an orthopedist, get by Brock today. Blue Bonnet near Perkins inside the Surgical Specialty Center. Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. We service the entire state of Louisiana. So no matter where you are in Louisiana, roof repairs, roof replacements, love to help you out. Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. It's pinned in the chat. And Restored Motions, RestoredMotions.com. I'll go ahead and drop the website again one more time in the comments. If you have pain, book a session with Crystal Poche over at Restored Motions. She is the best. T-Bob was saying last night he's got sciatica and dealing with this weird pain in his leg. I was like, bro, go book a session. Go see Crystal. She'll help you. So he's going to do it. Hopefully he'll have a testimonial soon. So anyway, okay. Y'all have an awesome day. And have a great Sunday. Who dat? And see you tomorrow. Peace. Peace, peace, peace.